Yes, I hope so. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I am Zakia Summers, and I serve as state representative for House District 68. And my district covers portions of West and South Hinds County, as well as Rankin County. And I want to welcome you to the Jackson Association of Neighborhoods second online workshop, A Time for Action. And tonight we're going to talk about different ways that neighborhoods can work together to become stronger and more effective. Well, in addition to strengthening neighborhoods all across the capital city, Jan also helps to connect community leaders with one another to create positive change and provide information that empowers neighborhoods, organizations, and community stakeholders to be more prepared for opportunities as well as during emergencies. And we're going to talk about that tonight. And tonight we're focusing on three main topics. We're going to talk about crime, working with the city's planning department, and emergency preparedness. And we hope that all of these topics will help you to formulate strategies that will help our neighborhoods find solutions to problems that are in our communities. Now, I've been a part of JAN for the last few years, and I've also been a part of my own neighborhood association, Jane Avenue Neighborhood Association, for more than 15 years. And I still live in the Jane Avenue community, and I serve as secretary of our neighborhood association. In fact, when I decided to move back home from college, I immediately got involved with my neighborhood association under the leadership of our president, who is Supervisor Credell Calhoun, as well as his wife, former Supervisor Peggy Calhoun. And what we did is we organized a number of activities that have helped to unite our neighbors all across the community. And it's here volunteering with my neighborhood association and working on the ground for so many years that helped to lay a foundation for me that really turned into the purpose of my life, which is to serve the people of my district. First as an election commissioner, as you all know, and now as state representative. And it's that work that put me on a trajectory towards public office. And even now, we're working with all of the various stakeholders in our community. We're building out a vision called Vision 22 and Beyond, and we're focusing on four main components: good homes, good schools, good jobs, and a safe community. Well, we know that neighborhoods and good neighbors keep us engaged, they keep us socially cohesive, and they can help to positively shape our neighbors' well-being. Neighborhoods are the cornerstones to any city, and in order for us to have a strong and positive city, we must have strong and positive neighborhoods. And that's why I'm so glad that so many neighborhoods have joined us for tonight's call. So again, tonight's program will give you some tips and different things that you can do to have direct impact on the people who live right around you, and therefore help us to lay a very strong foundation for better health, increased safety, and overall community pride. Let's continue to look out for one another in a meaningful way and empower each other to be more proactive in our neighborhoods. And please don't forget to follow Jan on Facebook and check out our website at ourjan.org. I want to welcome you, and now I want to thank you and turn it over to our president, Jan President Jennifer West.
You're on mute, Jennifer.
I apologize. My name is Jennifer West. I am the current president of the Jackson Association of Neighborhoods. And I'd like to welcome you to this workshop this evening. We're going to be talking about, we're with the Strengthening Committee, and we'll be talking about different topics in regards to strengthening your communities. The chair of the committee is Miss Princess Barbara, and so I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you, Miss Jennifer West. Ooh, I thought I almost left the meeting, but anyway, thank you for introducing me on tonight. We are just excited. We'd like to thank Miss Monique, who's made it possible for us to be here on this Zoom on today. And also, this is our second workshop. We hope that everybody's following us. This is our second one. And we know our first one dealt with our membership committee. And we also would like to commend again Dr. Fran Bridges for doing an awesome job and taking us through that membership committee workshop. So tonight we're talking about the neighborhood strengthening. We have a website that our representative just told you about. It's ourjan.org. And under neighborhood strengthening on the website, we do have this to say. It works to provide examples of tools and programs that neighborhood leaders and organizations can use to be more effective. It currently is developing a neighborhood toolbox that will include a growing list of these proven ideas. And in our toolbox right now, we do have our block captains. And we have steps to go by for you to actually get the block captains organized in your neighborhood. So as we move along, just like to thank again, Ms. West, and thank Andy Frame for leading us and helping lead us through this and getting everything set up for us. We've been working on Zooms to get all of this in place. So we hope that we will show you that we are trying to build stronger neighborhoods. With that being said, we have tonight we're going to talk about 3 topics, as our representative has already told you. How neighborhoods relate to crime is the first one. And Ms. Jennifer West, our president, is going to talk to us about building stronger neighborhood networks. And she is a representative of Ward 4. So Ms. West, the floor is yours. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. I'm actually Ward 7. When it comes to networking is key. My favorite quote, it takes a village to raise a child, and you can use that phrase in any way, shape, or form you would like for your neighborhood. When you're networking, to me, it is an opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone, to meet people in different places and different situations that will help you grow as an individual in your community as well. I'm going to kind of use my neighborhood as an example of what we're doing. I'm currently in the Midtown Neighborhood Association area, which our borders include Fortification, West Street, Mill Street, and Woodrow Wilson. And some of the things that we do to network is we looked at the different organizations that were here in the neighborhood. So for us, we looked at the churches, we looked at the schools, we looked at the nonprofits, we looked at the businesses. And what we did is we sat down with each organization to see if they wanted to be a part of what we were trying to do in the community. And each one of them always has a representative that comes to our meetings. Some of the ways that we always meet once a month. Typically in our neighborhood, we meet at the 4th Monday of each month. And we try to do it in different spaces within the neighborhood. Number one, to give a kind of a different variety of different things that you get to see that you may not on a daily basis, and just be able to just congregate in different places. Typically how we network is we have different ways of connecting with people. We have phone and text message for those that are not on the internet. We have flyers that we go door to door and mail out. That's how we meet people. We do social media. We have our Facebook page. We do Zoom meetings. And basically, that's how we communicate word of mouth with everyone in the community. So some way, shape, or form, you're going to get information from one of those avenues from us. We don't concentrate on one. We use all of them because we know that there are people that are not internet savvy. We know that there's people that are not going to come out all the time and they might not get a lot of mail. So we want to make sure that we're touching every avenue of our neighborhood when it comes to networking. When we have meetings, we talk about the key things in those neighborhoods that we want to talk about for that month. We set goals. We don't set unrealistic goals. We set many goals that we can either accomplish within that month or within a couple of months. And we always review what we do. We bring in outside organizations to help us, whether it be the police department, city council, any department with the city or the county, even state representatives we've had at some of our meetings. So we try to use as many avenues as we possibly can. Now, we are not a big organization, so we do everything at a small level. And so for those communities that are just starting out, it's not expected of you to always be able to have a big scale production. If it's just 3 or 4 of you meeting once a month talking about certain projects that you want to get done and making a list and going through those things, that's key. That also helps you know what you can accomplish within a certain amount of time. So just take it step by step. Don't worry about if you have the money or the backing of a lot of people. As long as you have like-minded people in your community that have the same goals and interests as you do, I think you can accomplish anything you possibly can. There's also free resources out there if you're not familiar with how to do bylaws or other things of that nature. One that I would suggest that is local is AskJan. They have a template on their website in regards to how to set up a bylaws. Another good free resource that is in Jackson area would be Fondren. They have a good website that has weekly information that goes up. They have a monthly newsletter. Also, I apologize, I went blank. Those are the main two that I know of at this point in time. I just went blank on the other neighborhood, but there are several different neighborhoods that have websites that you can go to and get free information. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that you don't have to have money, you just have to have time. And that's the most important thing when you're trying to get together and make sure that your neighborhood is thriving in the way that you see fit to thrive.
All right. Thank you, Ms. West. We appreciate those comments and words on building stronger neighborhood through the networks. So we encourage everyone to start using the networks to spread the word about your own community, about what needs to be done. We're going to have a discussion at the end of the workshop. So if you have some questions that you're coming up with as we go through the meeting, we ask that you just jot it down and we will come back to you, or you can put it in the chat with your name and a phone number and we can contact you if we don't actually get to you. So our next speaker is going to be Mr. Seymour Bell. He is going to be talking on working with law enforcement. He is the president of the Westside Civic Club and he is in Ward 4. I'm sorry, Ms. West, I said Ward 4 and it was 7, but Mr. Bell is in Ward 4. So that's the ward that I'm in. So he's going to speak to us. If you would unmute your phone, Mr. Bell, and come to the front of the call.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you so much. Can everyone hear me? Okay. All right. My name is Seymour Bell. I am a proud member of the West Side community here. And what I'm coming to you all this evening to talk about is working with law enforcement. Now, working with law enforcement. It's simply just kind of plain and simple as what it said. It's kind of a combined effort to join the community and the police department. One method of accomplishing this goal is to simply just to have contact information on your precinct and officers for your area. We have what I like to call a command unit. You know, naturally, some of you all may already know this. We have our police chief, which is James E. Davis. We have the assistant police chief, which is Joseph Wade. We have deputy chiefs. You have Mr. Tyrone Buckley, Derek Hearn, Vincent Grizel, and Tiny Harris. Now, I would encourage each and every one of you all to get to know these gentlemen, talk to them. They're very easy to talk with. We at the West Side community talk with them all the time. And as you all know, we do have 4 precincts, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just in case some of you may not know, the direct number to these is simply just like the precincts are listed. Precinct 1, 960-0001. Precinct 2, 960-0002. And so forth for precinct 3, and so forth for precinct 4. Now, at precinct 1, I believe, as far as having a commander at this time, the commander is still to be announced. He's in transition. So Mr. Banks, I believe, just retired. So precinct 1 does not have a commander, but there is a phone number that you can use for a supervisor, just in case. And if you all are in precinct 1 and are having any type of problem and need to contact a supervisor, and I will give that to you. It is 601-906-3323. All right, for precinct 2, which is us, it's Commander Loney. And also The shift supervisor's phone number for that precinct is 769-572-1200. Now, his direct phone number is 769-218-6060. Precinct 3, you have Mr. Christian Vance is the commander there. And the direct phone number for him is, 601-502-6687. And the supervisor phone number is 601-500-0036. Now, for precinct 4, last but not least, you have Commander Wales, and the supervisor phone number for that is 601-624-1246. And your commander phone number for Commander Wales is 601-316-7846. Now, what we have to do also as a community is make an effort to include these officers in our police department as a part of your community. And that means not only when you have an emergency or any type of situation like that, but include them in your community events, include them in your community meetings, your cookouts, your festivals, maybe even your family reunion. Believe it or not, they like to eat just like we do. And that is a way to kind of get to know them because they're people just like we are. Make your community safe on your own. These are things, a lot of these things we can do on our own. Make your community safe by what we at Westside like to call policing our own community. Because if you think about it, no one should know your community better than the people that live there. Some simple techniques that we've used at Westside is we did a deal that we call lighting up our community. And what that is simply, we went around our community and we looked at lights, pole lights, lights in the park, lights on our residents, and just made sure that they were all working. Just to give you an example, when we first took on this project and we just checked the lights on the street, if I'm correct, I believe we had like 53 lights that were out that we were unaware of. And this is taking place in a lot of communities. And to me, dark places are havens for crime, just like bacteria. So that's something that I think we need to look at. Also, we're doing a deal now where we're doing visible address identification on residents. And that you will be surprised how many people, I heard about this first from our city councilman, Mr. Grizel, you'll be surprised how many residents do not have a visible address. And this is very important, especially in an emergency when seconds count. If you're having an officer to come by or if you're having an ambulance or a fire truck, we need a visible address. So that's something you all also can be looking at, along with blighted property that's unrepairable, that needs to be torn down. These are things, believe it or not.
Seymour, you just muted yourself. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Also, one of the things that we've done, like I was mentioning blighted properties, another thing that we've done, as you heard, and street block captains. And with street block captains, that's something that we've incorporated here in the West Side community. And what that does is it builds, to me, unity in your community. And what that does, we have one individual person on a particular street that becomes responsible for that street. So instead of trying to deal with like a large number of individuals throughout your community, you end up dealing with one individual, and this individual deals with the respective people on his or her street. And what that does is builds communication between her and the people and her neighbors. And it's just a win-win situation that we've done. So what I'm encouraging you to is to get to know your neighbors. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, get to know your police officers and first responders, because, you know, in all of this, working together is the key. This is what we're pushing here. We believe that working together as individuals, our community, can make our city a better city as a whole. These are your communities, our communities. This is your city. And so it is up to each and every one of us as individuals to volunteer. It's not easy. Work and dedicate our time and effort to make it a better place now and in our future. Now, one of the keys to all of this working is persistence. It has to be consistency and persistence. It cannot be a one-time effort. The problem didn't happen overnight, and it will not be resolved overnight. But a continued effort in working together with one another and our police department, we can and we will make a difference. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bell. We appreciate all of that good information that you have given us. Every ward should have gotten that number so you would know who to contact with your law enforcement. You know who to contact with your precinct. So those are these things are very important, especially when something happens to you. Like you said, the address is on your house. You know, that's important to you, especially when you call the ambulance or the policeman and they come to your house. So you want to have all that taken care of. So thank you again, Mr. Bell, for that great information. Okay, our next speaker is going to be Mr. Andy Frame, and he's going to speak to us on strategic use of public spaces. And I know that he is the vice president of JAN, and we appreciate him so much. And he is from Ward 7 also. So Mr. Frame, the floor is all yours. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. I appreciate it. And thank you to everybody for coming today. You know, we get excited about these events because it really just shows we can come together and do something positive. So we appreciate y'all showing up. So yeah, just what we're talking about here, we wanted just to give y'all a few things that you can do right away or start to implement in your community. And you know, we're not recreating the wheel. It's isn't rocket science, but it just takes, like Mr. Bell said, it takes persistence and working together. And what I'm going to talk about is using public spaces. And basically, this is a strategic thing that neighborhoods can do, and that's use your public spaces, use your parks, libraries, you know, school playgrounds, community centers, and use them. If you don't have an event plan there, and know the boundaries of your neighborhood, know your adjacent neighborhoods, and know your assets of these community spaces. And then if you don't have an event, your community doesn't have an event scheduled at that space, one of those spaces soon, go ahead and plan it. There's no reason not to use those spaces to gather. A big part of this is knowing your boundaries. Like I said, Jan is currently in the process of building out our database. We talked about that at the last meeting. And part of that is getting a good map of all the neighborhood boundaries. And that's going to help us better know which public spaces benefit, you know, each community. And so that's just something that we can all have a better understanding of, kind of where we live and what's near us, knowing our adjacent neighborhoods. But yeah, like I said, the reason why we need to use these spaces is that when you use them, the city can use that data to go out and raise money to improve those spaces. When we don't use them, they get less attention, less maintenance, they look worse, we use them worse, or we use them less, and they become negative spaces in the community. Instead, if we do community cleanups, events, parties, get out the vote gatherings, concerts, anything we want to, we can think of, we just need to have more and more positive events happening in our community. Obviously, we need to be safe about it, but don't let any negative perception of the city prevent you from planning these events. This is it's a tough time in our city right now. There's a lot of negativity, and rightfully so. There's a lot of tragic things that happen in our city, but we also have a lot of good things and good projects happening. And so we have to really focus on everything we do that's positive is a pressure put against those negative perceptions, and we can do that together. One thing, we had an event, or I didn't have an event, I attended an event in a park a few weeks ago, and just by going to that event, you kind of realize what that park needs. And one of the park needed one of the electrical hookups to get replaced. It had gotten damaged and wasn't working. And so you work with the city, Parks and Rec can now knows to focus on it and get that fixed. And that's the only way that we can really get this stuff done, is just by putting pressure on the city to let them know, we need this space to be working like it's supposed to work. And then Seymour mentioned it, but lighten up the neighborhood, lighten up, reporting light pole outages is so important. I know I've heard from people around the city that Entergy may not always respond well when you report light pole outages, but they definitely don't respond when you don't report them. So we've got to keep doing that. If you can go on Entergy's website under report outage, and I'll post the link in the chat after this, but you don't have to have an account or anything. You can just report the outage for a light pole and get it on their agenda to fix. And I really want to challenge everybody here. If they see a light pole that's out, report it on that website. There's no reason not to. Same goes for really anything, but in the city with reporting it. But with light poles, we really need those lit up. Some of the crimes that have happened recently have been, on dark corners of the street, as far as notable crimes. That's it. As far as working in community spaces, we got to be strategic. It's not just about having positive public, fun events in your community. It's about doing things with purpose. Every event you do needs to have a purpose and intention behind it to move the community forward. And so we need to all think about that in our areas, and don't get discouraged, and be patient, work together, be kind, and we'll move things forward. So that's it for us. Princess, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Andy. We appreciate those comments so much. Very good information. We need to remember to always keep things positive. Even though we have negativity going around us, let's keep it positive. And he's talking about those lights. You may be the only person that knows that the street light is out on your street. So that would be your opportunity to call in and get it fixed. So we all can do something as individuals and not just always wait for somebody else to do it, to call in or what have you. We're going to have to, we're talking about action. So you're going to have to get busy and do some of the things that need to be done in your neighborhood. So as we move right along, we'd like to thank you all for those comments. So we have another topic of discussion, and it is working with the community improvement. We have Miss Chloe Dotson. She's with the City of Jackson Planning Department. So at this time, we would like for her to unmute herself, and the call is all yours.
Hey there. Do you see I can't figure out what screen I'm sharing. Do you see a clear approach to code enforcement?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay. So before I get going on this, if you hear children in the background screaming, I promise they're not dying. They're just running around the house, and people are outside like doing lawn maintenance. And so I'm cooking dinner. So just forgive me. My name is Chloe Dotson. I'm the Deputy Director of Planning, Development, and Code Services with the City of Jackson. I recently just moved back. I've been gone for about 18 years. I went to Piney Woods and Mississippi State back in the day. And it's an honor and privilege to be here. I actually grew up in construction. Both my parents are architects. I've been doing housing development for the last 15 years, low income housing tax credits, historic tax credits, new market tax credits, you have it. But it's an honor to be back, and I'm so proud to be able to be back in my city and work for my people. And so today I want to talk about some things that you can take away today and be a part of tonight even. Hopefully you can be a part of it in the future. But I'm going to provide you some tools today that can be used immediately to help bring your neighborhoods back into compliance. So again, Chloe Dotson, Deputy Director of the Planning Department. I'll provide my contact information as well as my staff contact information at the end of my little spiel. But basically I want to start off, there's 4 things I'm going to talk about. First, I'm going to talk about the new process. What is this new code enforcement process? And what's different what's the difference before and after? Then I want to just go ahead and give you a list of violations so you can actually know what type of violations exist and what you can actually report. Addresses and having the proper address with a certain size on your house is actually one of them. And then thirdly, I want to show you what you can do now, how to track code violations as they go through the system. And then lastly, I want to talk really quickly about success stories. So you can know, even though this is a new program, we've had an insurmountable amount of success because we were actually holding owners accountable, which is something we haven't done. So real quick, just make sure everybody can see my screen. This new process is a clear process, right? It sets clear standards, it's a clear process, there's a clear strategy, clear coordination between private and public entities, clear partnerships, and clear accountability, which is one of the big things. And all the information that I'm going to share today, I'm going to send over to Andy, and Andy can then disperse that and disseminate that as he feels free. But this is kind of the gist of this new code enforcement process. Prior to this code enforcement process, the city of Jackson experienced, as you all know, extreme blight, right? We lost 70% of our white population in less than 40 years, followed by wealth flight, which was, different demographics leaving the city of Jackson. And we still have that today. So really what we're trying to do is manage abandonment and manage blight. And most cities are just not equipped with that until they reinvigorate their process. So for the last, I would say 30 years, we were basically using taxpayer dollars to mitigate properties when they were in violation, right? We would find a case, document the case, and then once we had enough money, we would then mitigate it, whether that's demolition or board up or line services. Well, this process is a little different because there's 4 steps. The first one is voluntary compliance, in which we send out a bunch of different notices, everything from courtesy notice to a condemnation notice, depending on the severity of the violation. And we work with the owner, understanding burdens, understanding financial burdens and all of that. We work with the owners to bring the property back into compliance. We give them anywhere between 15 to 90 days, depending on severity. We do have a priority, right? If you're near a school, if you're near a church, if it is crime-ridden and we have a whole bunch of drug usage or homeless folks involved, we do kind of expedite, but that's the first level. The second level is court compliance, in which we actually, submit a citation summons to you to go to court in order to prove your case. Are you guilty or are you not guilty? And then we also work with you to try to bring the property back into compliance through a judge order. You can try to mitigate the problem before you have environmental court or during court. It's really up to the owner. But what we've seen is that when people get that citation notice that says the judge can fine you up to $1,000 per day per violation, people try a little bit harder to bring their property in compliance, even if it's just small movements at a time. The third level is a referral case. We don't want to continue to oppress those that have been disinvested in, right? We know that there's financial hardships, maybe elderly, may have disability, may have a fixed income. So what we do is put them in a bucket, and then we refer them to housing, community development, or churches or different nonprofit entities that potentially help them bring their property in compliance. The fourth level, of course, is city perform cleanup, in which we use taxpayer dollars to mitigate the property, and then we place a lien. That is not it's not the best choice because we don't want to cause additional burdens to investment because we have that lien. But if we can't do voluntary compliance, we can't do court order compliance, and we can't find the name because it's a shell within a shell within a shell. And y'all know what I'm talking about. If you've done research on property before, sometimes it's difficult to find the owner. Then it moves all the way to city performing up. And when we have the funds, we can move on that. So this is the new toolkit for code enforcement. It's a 4-layer process. And this is basically how it works. So we have intake, we do the inspection within 7 days. We have voluntary, it starts immediately with voluntary compliance, in which we're issuing different notices. And then if voluntary compliance fails, we, depending on the severity of the issue, escalate it to court, or we put it in a bucket for referral, or we escalate it directly to city perform cleanup. Does that make sense? Okay, I talk very fast and I have only 20 minutes and I'm a little chatterbox. And so if I'm going too fast, you can always reach out to me directly. We can have another meeting. We also have housing coalition meetings every month, in which I can answer all these questions and everything, but I want to get into it a little bit more. So that is the approach. That's the difference between what we were doing before and what we're doing now. Now I want to show you international property maintenance codes. Uh-oh, my screen sharing paused. Hold on, I'm sorry. Let's try this right here. Okay, can you see an Excel spreadsheet? Okay, very good. All right, so this is what we did. We adopted 2018 International Property Maintenance Codes. That is the brother or sister of the 2018 building codes. So you have building codes that people have to abide by when they build something, and then you have property maintenance codes that people need to abide by in order to maintain their property. This right here is an Excel spreadsheet of all the property maintenance codes that exist that people should abide by. So these would be violations. So you have everything from motor vehicles being an exterior of the property, defacement of property, swimming pools, stairways, windows, handrails, guards, doors, building security, gates, exterior of the structure, roof and flashing should be sound. So it gets very, very detailed. I mean, handrails, exterior and interior lighting, structures must be kept free from insects and rodents and infestation. Windows must be fixed. Owner of the structure may be responsible for pest elimination within the structure. So there's a bunch of code violations that exist, and I want y'all to know what we can actually hold people accountable for. You can hold people and property owners accountable from everything from chip paint to dilapidated structures, right? And I can provide this, but it just goes into everything about, livable spaces, hallways and stairwells, closing dryer exhaust, privacies, access to bedrooms. We started a whole bunch of violations for different apartment complexes because they're not maintaining their property. But I want to provide this to you so it can be kind of your little checklist when you in your community and you're trying to figure out, can I hold this property owner accountable? Absolutely, most likely you can, and it most likely will fit into one of these different categories. Again, the penalties for this across the board is $1,000 per day per violation. And so if you think about a abandoned house, it's probably going to have about 20 or 30 different violations, right? You attach that to a citation summons that says, I'm going to fine you $1,000 per day per violation. The owner is probably a little bit more willing to bring that property back into compliance than previously. Does that make sense? Okay. So I can go through this a little bit more, but I don't want to waste too much time. But I just wanted to give you an idea of the detail of code violations that can exist. Everything from the exterior structure to the interior, to yards, to signage, to even the addresses on the property for identification purposes. Okay. Close this one out. And I'm going to reshare so I can get back on my screen. Okay. Get out of here, go back. All right. So I'm going to share a link. It's called jacksonms.viewpointcloud.com. This is the online platform that we're starting to implement across the board so that departments in the city of Jackson can communicate. Not only communicate, but it ties different applications or code violations or records to a particular property address so you can see everything that's going on. So for example, if a property has a code violation, you may also see that it has a building permit associated with it, which means that the property is trying to come back into compliance, if that makes sense. So for right now, in the very near future, there's going to be a little square right here in this empty spot, and it's going to say code enforcement. And in the very near future, you'll be able to select this and enter in the address or the parcel number and start a code violation and actually watch it go through the system through those 4 different levels. For right now, I'm still building out my staff. But for right now, you can search, which is the big point about holding people accountable. It's not just about holding property owners accountable. It's about holding city administration accountable as well. So for example, if I wanted to research a property to see if it had a code violation or where it is within the process, all I would do after you sign into Jackson MS viewpointcloud.com, you will go over here to search. And then we would type in an address. I'm going to type in 1525 Ellis Ave. I bet all of you know where that is. So if I type in 1525 Ellis Ave, it's the GIS information is already coded into the system, and I can actually select it. And I will see everything associated with that property. I will see the property owner. I will see where the property owners live. So you can use this information if you want to send out violations of your own through your community neighborhood. Here's your property owner information. Here's the address. And you can see all the different applications associated with that. So you see that there's a code enforcement case, right? And so I'll click on it. And you'll see when it was created back December 16, 2021, it is active. The description is an unsafe structure. It's a commercial property. And you can also look at all the documents that have been issued from the city of Jackson. You can also print these documents and attach them to your neighborhood letters, right? So all you would do is click on one. This is a condemnation notice that was issued. It says that they need to immediately, so it's a revocation of the certificate of occupancy. It puts the code in here, and then way at the bottom, it says that we will fine you up to $1,000 per day. Let me take a look at another one. You can look at the second notice that was issued and all of the code references that are associated with it. So you can see the correction orders. You can see the code reference. So these are the codes that in that Excel spreadsheet that I was showing you. These are the different violations that are attached to that particular violation. And when we're going to do I'm so sorry. On maintenance going on in the back. I'm sorry. You can also see when we have that reinspection date. And so this is just a great way to see how a particular case is moving through our compliance levels. And so I want to show you again. I'm just going to show you another one. I'm going to go back to search, and then I'm going to type in 1225 Bailey Ave. If anybody has any addresses that you want to look up real quick, let me know. Shoot them out. We can look at it real quick. I think I still have maybe 7 minutes, 6 minutes. And so if I want to type in Bailey Ave, which is a problem property off of Bailey, going south, going towards Fortification. If I wanted to look at it, you just type in the address, and you can see that there's an active code enforcement case, and I'll click on it. And you can see that the property's out of compliance. It's residential. It was started in November 16th, 2021. And you can look at the first notice that was sent that shows the violations: motor vehicles, sanitation, exterior walls, protective treatment, talks about porches, trims, balconies, decks, fences, and it gives you the correction order. And then it also talks about when the reinspection is going to be. Another thing you can do is look at the location details, which just gives you more information. Again, as neighborhood organization, again, you'll see it has the property owner information as well as where they're located. And you see that they're way in Arizona. The one thing that I wanted to also show you is that, again, you can start searching property immediately. In order to start a code case, a code violation case, we haven't turned on the online system. As I said, that's going to come on very soon as we're done training our code enforcement officers. But you'll be able to actually go in and start a code violation case using the address and or the parcel number, or you could put, lot next to address or lot next to parcel number or lot at intersection, and we'll find it. And you'll be able to track that case as it goes through and look at all the notices that have been sent out. Another thing that's really great about this system is now that it's online, we can easily conduct a report and let you know, like if you have a block captain that wants more information, that wants to share, we can easily create reports. Like if I want to look at Ward 2, I want to look at Ward 2, and I want to look at active cases in Ward 2. I can look at all these active cases. So in Ward 2, there's 144 active locations. If I wanted to look at Ward, let's say 4, I can look up Ward 4 very easily, and I can show you that there's 319 cases, right? Very similar, very much so. I can also look at completed cases. And give me some time because I need to actually filter this. Date submitted is before or after, it's after, because we didn't start this new process until last year, September 1st, apply. If I look at Ward 4, out of all those cases that we looked at, 67 have been completed in Ward 4. So this is a great format, great platform for you to not only start code violations in the future, track them through the system, but it's also a great way for us to easily run reports within particular wards. If you wanted to look at precincts, we can run it by precincts, right? And then we can also run it, if you want to get really detailed, we can run it by census tracts or census blocks or a street. If I just want to look at one street and see, code violations that take place. Does anybody have any questions? Well, I guess you're taking questions at the end, but so the new process, you know what violations that we can actually hold people accountable. What can you do now? You can create lists of violations, use that Excel spreadsheet that shows you all the different violations. Go out into your community, start an Excel spreadsheet or handwritten. I see Fran on here. We actually just went out and did her neighborhood, which was great. I think we had about 40 out there. I don't know, I couldn't keep up. But make a list and jot down what the violations are. Send them over to our division. We'll enter them into the system. And at that point, all you have to do is type in the address right here at search and watch it go through the process. And if you see something slowing down or slowing up, you can always send us an email or call and say, hey, this has been looking bad for some time. Can we expedite it? Can we move forward? But we are trying to stay very vigilant with our process, right? With those 4 levels and the timelines associated. I know that, sometimes we have so much negativity going on. We think nothing's going to happen. We develop a bunch of apathy. But what I want to tell you is just in the small time frame that we've implemented this new system, we've had success stories. One success story is being able to ride out with Miss Fran and go through her neighborhood house by house and document violations that will be inputted into the system, and then we'll start generating notices. Another success story, I don't know if you saw Shoney's, right? Shoney's being demolished on High Street. That was completely code enforcement. No taxpayer dollars were spent there. That was a bunch of notices being sent out until we got the owner to demolish. 1525 Ellis Ave. I know you haven't seen much progress there, but we finally got the judge to say if they don't clean up that property before July 12th, I'll be able to charge them $1,000 per day per violation. And we have about 17 violations on that property. Another success story, if you drive along Bailey Ave going north, there was a blue old school laundromat on the east side of Bailey going north towards Woodrow Wilson. That house was that property was demolished. That was not taxpayers' money. That was the owner being held accountable and having to demolish. Even if you look at Eminence Row, all the demolitions going on Eminence Row, those are all owner mitigated. Taxpayer dollars are not being used. It's just us sending a whole bunch of notices and threatening to take to environmental court and threatening to charge $1,000 per day per violation. I don't know if you've heard about the hotels being closed down. Those are all code violations. They're all community improvement, issuing out a bunch of notices and taking folks to court. 400 Graymont, right? Is that Renaissance Hotel? They're on our list too to go to court July 12th for unsanitary conditions, as well as 4629 I-55. So you may not see it right now, but I bet if we all work together, we all start holding folks accountable through documentation and issuing out these notices, people will start to understand that the city of Jackson has regrown our teeth and we are biting hard. So is there, how much time do I have, Andy? Do I have any time to look up one address for someone?
Yeah, you do. I think some people in the chat have been commenting. There was hold on, let me Fran was asking about fining on 1525, but you answered that question after July 12th. If the judge will let you do that. And then 1018 Alta Vista Boulevard, can you look that one up? Doesn't look like it's on there.
Is it a lot or a house?
Fran?
It is a house.
I don't see 1018 on here, which is a problem.
Okay, it should be. It's been reported for probably the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, another thing, if the address doesn't pull up, of course, there's always glitches with technology. If we can get the parcel number will most likely pull up.
And then, let's see.
Okay, I'll get the parcel number.
Beth Ann asked, where do you find the new codes that you have on the spreadsheet?
Yeah, so one thing we're going to do, I'm going to create like a cheat sheet because this is just too much, right? I want to create a cheat sheet, kind of like how we did for this. And so what we'll probably do is attach a cheat sheet to this graphic. You know, this last page, maybe we'll have a 4th page that gives a list of different code violations. Right now, if you Google International Property Maintenance Codes 2018, all those codes will pop up. But right now, I don't know if I have a platform that has all the codes, but I will definitely send this Excel spreadsheet to Andy as well as this graphic. And you can use this until we roll out the program officially.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I think that anybody else that has an address, we can send out this website and y'all can look it up, or we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, parcel numbers or addresses are gonna get you where you want to go.
Yeah, and also if anybody's having an issue with this website, or contact Chloe or me, and I'll either one. But let's see. But yeah, these are all available, as Ken is saying, that anybody can look these up on this website, the jacksonms.viewpointcloud.com.
Yeah, I was trying to find Shoney's, but I can't remember their address after all the addresses that I go through every day.
Well, that's all right. Thank you, Chloe. Is that all you got? Do you have anything else?
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Let me put my contact information in here. So if you want to report a code violation and get a case number. That case number, you will be able to type in here, right? It's going to start with a CE, then it's going to be -22, and then it's going to give you a number that you can look up, right? But if you want to start a case, just call this number that I'm placing in the chat box. It's 960-1054, and you can start a case there, or you can email me directly at cdotson@jacksonms.gov, and I don't know my staff phone email by heart, but if you email me, I will forward you to my manager, Miss Miller, and she can help you move forward from that point. Again, as a deputy director, I oversee code community improvement. So I try to stay away from the weeds when it start, when you're getting into actually, putting the code violation in and letting you know where it is. But I do have 5 staff, and I'm bringing on 4 more that will be able to walk you through and let you know exactly where that case is within our compliance. Oh, and then let me put this in here. Okay, I just messed that up. Okay, copy. There you go. And so I'm very excited. And if anybody wants me to run in the reports for your neighborhood, just give me an email. I can basically run a report high level all the way down to low level, let you know all the active cases you have so you're not duplicating work, as well as let you know what projects are complete, and was it voluntary compliance, or was it taxpayer dollars, or are they in the referral program and got some help from a nonprofit or something like that. So just let me know. We're a resource, and this is one of the tools that I think is a game changer for the city of Jackson. If we can, and I don't know if you saw it, but on this graphic, my big thing is this right here. It's all about placing the power back in the community. If we can work together, we can decrease our apathy by not only reporting the code violations, but watching the violations come back into compliance. And I think that is where the key is. Oh, okay.
I was trying to go fast. It's actually 1118 Alta Vista, and the parcel is 158-132-2.
Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. No wonder. Okay.
We don't want to take up anybody. We have one more presentation.
You do have an active case. We've sent out a condemnation notice, a final notice, and it looks like a closeout notice was issued May 10th. And so if the property is still out of compliance, that means it actually came back into compliance. If the property went back out of compliance, we just need to reactivate this case and start sending out notices again. But it does say that the property was supposed to be boarded up. And this letter does say that it's closed. Ms. Fran, if you want to get with me, we can reopen this case.
I will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Wow, thank you, Miss Chloe Dotson. You have done a great job in bringing us an action too. So now, when will it actually be live for everyone?
So what my goal is to have 1 code enforcement officers. Of course, I want 3 per ward, but my goal is to have 1 code enforcement officer per ward, 2 managers, and a supervisor. Right now I'm at 5. We're hiring on 2 more. And so my goal is October 1st, the first of the fiscal year. I'm hoping that the mayor will be able to make this public, give out the information, and we'll start doing trainings on how to let people know how to start a case. And it's very simple. You just put in the address, what the code violation is, and then it generates a case number. And then within 7 days, you'll have an inspector out there, and you can start watching it go through the process.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate all of this good information that you have brought us tonight. So we are excited and we can see the action moving, And you were able to give us some success stories, and that is wonderful that, you know, we can have hope that some of the things we've been reporting will finally maybe get torn down, some kind of way come to a conclusion.
Yes, and one more note, I'm sorry. I know we use 311, but for code violations, use the number that I called you. You can also use 311, but all 311 does is forward it to us. 311 is for your lights, for basically everything outside of zoning, outside of code violations. Also in the very near future, very similar to code violations, zoning violations will be online. So you'll also be able to report that, but that's a different story, different set of code violations, but also it's all about putting the power back into the hands of the people to report and track violations in their own community.
All right. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you taking your time to come and be with us at our workshop on tonight. So everybody has her information. It's in the chat. So you can get busy and, you know, go through your neighborhood and make a list of the things that you want to have changed to make your neighborhood be a better place to live. Okay. So we're all about the action. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Okay, moving right along, we do have another topic of discussion, being better prepared for the next emergency. Miss Felicia Tripp, she's with the American Red Cross. Miss Tripp, the call is yours. If you would unmute yourself and come in.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank Jan for having me this evening. My name is Felicia Tripp. I am the Senior Geographical Disaster Program Manager for the Red Cross. I cover the entire state, other than the two top counties, DeSoto being one of those two. And with the disaster program, we do just that. We respond to disasters, whether they be fires, natural disasters, or man-made disasters or catastrophes. On this evening, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about community emergency preparedness. And it's such an extensive subject. We're going to touch on it, give you guys some resources so that you can know where to look to get more information, how you can gain some tools to get your house prepared, but also your own neighborhoods prepared as well. And also give you some resources to know how to be involved with those elected and appointed officials who oversee certain areas as it pertains to emergency management. I also want to just say, as it pertains to emergency management, what Ms. Chloe Dodson is doing to me actually flows directly in what would be called mitigation. So to have these houses being torn down can help neighborhoods vastly. So I just want to thank her for everything that she's doing. It's of such a great need. So just a little bit more about myself. In addition to my position at the Red Cross, I am the disaster committee head for the NAACP for the state, as well as the Environmental and Climate Justice committee chair for the city of Jackson's NAACP. So I work within a community, born and raised in Ward 3 in a little neighborhood called Verdant Addition. And so lifelong citizen of Jackson, Mississippi. And I've been working with emergency and community preparedness and environmental justice for years now. For me, it was something that began with an offer for a free tour. Going to New Orleans, all I heard was free in New Orleans, and it turned into a passion of mine about 18 years ago. And so began in a voluntary capacity, turned into a passion, and I do consider it an opportunity to do my life's mission by doing this work. So as we talk about, I want to let you guys know we'll be talking about community preparedness, emergency management, and of course I'm going to put in a plug for the Red Cross to get you guys involved with being prepared in your communities. Again, talking about some of the roles of elected officials and appointed officials, and also introduce you guys to what an LEPC is. That's Local Emergency Planning Committee and Long-Term Recovery Committees, and how that plays a part in recovery from disasters. So the first question is, what is community preparedness? community preparedness is defined or refers to community-wide efforts to give citizens the training, the education, and the resources they need to prepare against the threat of possible disasters in their community. So if you look at FEMA studies and literature that they put out, for a while, they always told you that you need to be able to take care of yourself in shelter in place for 72 hours. Because of the high frequency, the frequency of disasters has increased so much that that is actually going to be extending to 96 hours. So it is imperative that we make sure that we not only prepare our homes, but also as a community prepare to work together as well, because you don't know when outside help is coming. There's a saying in disaster response and preparedness: disasters start local and end local. And that's absolutely true. Typically, when people think of a disaster, they think of the Red Cross or they think of FEMA. And you think it's going to be this big crew that comes in to save you from FEMA, or you think there's going to be a big crew to come in from Red Cross to save you, but that is not the case. Again, disasters start local, end local. The Red Cross is a resource that's reached out to, and as well as FEMA. So the local elected officials put in something to what's called Web EOC. And through that, they reach out for help based on what the disaster is, okay? Based on how wide it is, what the scope of it is, so on and so forth. So if you live in the Jackson area, most of the disasters we have to worry about here are floods, tornadoes, hail, and the most frequent one that most people don't think about are house fires, which actually kill more people than hurricanes and tornadoes combined per year. So what are some of the things that you can do? One thing that you can do is exactly what you guys are doing right now. Jackson Association of Neighborhoods, your neighborhood association, getting together and actually doing surveys within the neighborhood. I've heard you all discuss that multiple times. Knowing who's in your neighborhood, knowing the vulnerable populations within your neighborhood. Who is it that isn't mobile? Who is it that, where do the children live? These sort of things. And also knowing that there are free resources for people that can help, like fire alarms. The Red Cross offers absolutely free smoke detectors and fire alarms. And the ones that we have now actually have 10-year lithium batteries. So you don't have to worry about those. You just check them once a month and they install them for absolutely free. The Jackson Fire Department has actually partnered with the Red Cross. So if you call, they come out twice a week and they will install those fire alarms for you. Again, that is absolutely free. So in addition to fire alarms, what is the Red Cross? Well, there was just a fire last night in Jackson on Geeston Avenue, that's in Ward 3. As a young woman and her children were all burned out of their home. They were able to find out that Red Cross does offer some assistance. And so she came to the Red Cross, which there were some funds allocated to her because she can't go back into the home. You know, it's not inhabitable for her at this time. So in addition to that amount of help, what the Red Cross also does is connect her with a caseworker, and they look for longer term solutions to help her for more than a day or two. So she's connected with a caseworker. They are connected with other organizations. And so the key in that is partnerships, connections and partnerships. And your community can play a part in that as well, because again, we have disaster action teams. Their training is absolutely free. And if you want to get help in your community the quickest, the best way is to be the responder within your community, to be able to get that help to the people in your community. Now, in this particular case, she didn't know in a timely enough fashion last night, or we weren't contacted, I'll say, but we were called today and she was able to come to the office and receive the help. But sometimes coming to the office may not be the best option. So imagine if it happened on your street and you were able to walk right down the street to help your neighbor. So that's one of the ways that you can help. How do you begin? The best way to begin is to just give us a call. Again, if you live in the Jackson area, you have a wonderful disaster program specialist who works in the area. Her name is Ms. Barbara Davis, and she's so active. And I'm going to give you guys her number. She organizes campaigns all the time. She just did one in, I believe, Ward 4, Sound the Alarm campaign, where we went and knocked on doors to find out who needed a smoke detector, and we installed them on the site. And I say we because I was actually out there too with the firefighters of Jackson. They even let some of us get on the truck. It was fun. But so I've told you a little bit about the role of the Red Cross. They are what you call under an ESF 6. And ESF stands for Emergency Support Function. That's on the EOC floor at MEMA. So you'll hear ESF as it pertains to state emergency management as well as national. And the ESF 6 role is mass care. And Red Cross falls under that. The head for Mississippi would actually be the Mississippi State Department of Health or State Department of Human Services, I'm sorry. And they do the coordination efforts for ESF 6 in Mississippi. Now, Red Cross does support shelters. And yet again, we support shelters, but we do need volunteers in order for shelters to be open sooner. And yes, the Red Cross will fly in volunteers from other states, but the best way to not have a pause and a wait and a gap in it is to have people from our own communities serving our own communities. Because as great as their heart may be in their desire to come here and help, sometimes when people are just right from California, I'm not talking about another country, just right from California, the culture is different. So sometimes there can be a misunderstanding, so to speak, as to what is meant. And they can be a turnoff, especially I'm already in the lowest time of my life. I've been caught in a disaster, possibly lost my home and all my belongings. So the best form of communication is when we are within the same region of one another. There's a difference in communication from north to south, from east to west. Everyone who's on here from the south, you know, our y'alls and our politeness. Sometimes people talk fast. We don't like that, especially when we're in that time of disaster. So again, that's why volunteering is absolutely critical. So who is the appointed official that's most looked at? The appointed official that's most looked at and looked to when an emergency happens? Well, in the county, you're looking at your EMA or emergency, the EOC director, emergency management agency director. And here for Hinds County, that's Joey Perkins. Now, the county emergency directors do have quite a bit that they oversee. One of those things are the volunteer fire departments, which they deploy and activate in the rural areas. You have the municipal departments in cities. The volunteer firefighters respond outside. And they are also in charge of the local emergency planning committees. I told you guys I'd be mentioning that as well. A lot of people don't know about the local emergency planning committees. Again, those are called LEPCs. Now, typically with the LEPC, they fall under the state emergency planning committee head. And each county, based on the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act. It's because of SARA Title Act 3 that this was activated. And with that, there's supposed to be a plan in place to respond in the event of a chemical exposure or anything that happens in your community. How many people on here, of course, you don't have to unmute, but just think in your head, how many of you all know what chemicals are stored at different businesses in your community? And if anything exploded, do you know what you're being exposed to? So I want everyone on the call to really close their eyes for a moment and picture this. There was a company in 1984. They were located in Bhopal, India. And at this company, they stored chemicals. One of the chemicals was a carcinogen, and it was a bad incident. The people went to sleep, but a lot of them didn't wake up the next morning. Babies, children, moms, dads, they went to sleep, but a lot of them didn't wake up. The deaths went on for days and days. Hundreds into the thousands of people died, and it was due to a chemical leak at a plant that was in Bhopal, India. The effects of that actually still affect the people till this day. A lot of people, when I say it was in Bhopal, India, would think, you know, that's foreign. They don't have stringent rules like we do here in the US. So surely that wouldn't happen here. But even though there was international news, 2 years later, the exact same company had a leak right in Virginia and right in Georgia with the exact same chemical. Clap. A lot of people got sick. Not as many deaths recorded, but because it was stopped sooner. Fast forward 10 years from there, it happened again. So it has become onto us to be aware of things like your local emergency planning committees, who are supposed to make you aware of what's in your community and what is the plan in the event of anything like that happening. I learned of a plant that was in Greenville that stored a chemical similar to this with no label on it. So I had no clue about that until I was in a training in Greenville, and I wondered how many people in the community are really aware about what's near them. So also recently, fast forwarding, I told you I could talk about this all day because it's literally something that I'm passionate about. But moving forward from the local emergency planning committees, there's also long-term recovery committees that falls under your EMAs as well. Now with the long-term recovery committees, they help with communities being able to recover after a disaster. Remember, I told you guys, the Red Cross helps with short-term recovery, but long-term recovery, there are other funds that are typically available. And long-term recovery committees help with that because finances, you have to have a fiscal sponsor as a part of it in order for those finances to be distributed to those who have the need. Now, recently, there was a tornado that came through, a couple actually of storms that came through a few months ago. The people in Edwards were affected, and actually several neighborhoods, including Battlefield and Jackson, was also affected. So we're in Hinds County with the largest population in Mississippi. Most people would think, again, this is something that is pretty much a mandate to have in place. Most people would think that Hinds County would have that in place, right? They don't, and they haven't for years. Now, I do know that the current emergency manager is working on that, but it would be a great thing for someone or someone's from Jan to be a part of this so that you can know about that. Because these committees, LEPCs and long-term recovery committees, are made up of different individuals, and you can advocate to be a part of that to make sure these dollars are being disseminated properly. Now, the people in Edwards could have actually had some funds to help with their recovery, but now they don't because that committee wasn't in place. So the more we know, the more likely we are to have these things in place so that we won't have that issue, because we know that Jackson is not absolved from being affected again by tornadoes. Again, we just had that incident to occur where several neighborhoods were affected. So in closing, I want you guys to look at some of the links. I sent some to Andy so that he could post. Learn more about LEPCs, learn more about long-term recovery committees. And most of all, contact us with the American Red Cross, where you can form a partnership. We will come to you for training. We'll come to your neighborhood association meeting. Like I said, you guys have a wonderful disaster program specialist in the Hinds County area. Her name is Ms. Barbara Davis. I'm going to give you her number. Her number is area code 769-610-3506. That's 601-769-610-3506. That's one of the first steps that you can take to making a change in your community. Call Ms. Barbara Davis. And I want you to also understand that all these, when I talk about this, when I talk about the fire responses or talk about the responses to disasters being part of the Red Cross, you don't have to travel across the world. You can specifically tell them, I want to respond in my community. There are opportunities for you to be out in the community, but there are also opportunities for you to volunteer right from your phone, right from your home on your computer screen. We really do need your help in those partnerships. I also want to tell you guys about an organization. It's called VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disasters. It's a combination of a lot of different faith-based and other non-governmental organizations who come together during times of disasters to provide those resources. Again, that's VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disasters. They have state chapters, but you guys can be the beginning of organizing a county chapter in Hinds County and make sure that, again, you can be a part of making sure that people are receiving the resources they need during times of disasters. Because it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, with this high frequency that they are occurring in this day and time. So again, my name is Felicia Tripp. If you have any questions for me, feel free to give me a call, or again, for Hinds County, you can contact for training Ms. Barbara Davis. And I forgot to tell you guys, we actually have 2 trainings coming up, and those trainings are going to be here in person at the Red Cross, which is located, let me pull up the address, guys. The address is, that's a shame, I just come to work and don't know an address. But you guys can come to the Red Cross right here in Flowood. We're doing a training on the 27th. That training is going to be from 5 to 7 here at the Red Cross offices. And the next training is going to be the following day from 10 a.m. to noon at the Red Cross offices. Now, spaces are limited. We are going through COVID protocols for that, but it's only 2 hours to get you started. And again, we can come to you guys for further training as well. And to sign up for that, you can contact Ms. Barbara Davis as well.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Tripp, so much for all of that great information you have given us tonight. We can see that our neighborhoods, we have a lot of things that we can get involved with that maybe you did not know about. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities that these ladies are telling us about, and Ms. Tripp is telling us about the American Red Cross. So I hope you all got the numbers. We have them in the chat. So again, we just thank you for coming and sharing your time with us at our workshop on this afternoon. We really appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Now we're down to Mr. Andy Frame, and he's going to tell us what's next.
All right, so just a few things. We're going to have our next workshop in September, and it's going to be related to business relations, so how neighborhoods and business can work together. It's going to be businesses can do more to support the community that they're in, and neighborhoods can do more to support the local businesses in their area, as well as hold those businesses accountable as community members. And so we're going to talk about that. I mentioned in my brief session that we're working on our neighborhood database. So we need neighborhoods to submit their information, boundaries, contact information, and when y'all meet. You can do that on our website at ourjan.org. We're using that to create a map that's going to have neighborhood boundaries and a bunch of other information. It's going to help us organize and work together. So please submit that. You follow the Facebook page under Jackson Association of Neighborhoods. Check out our website. We have a newsletter that goes out every month. There'll be one coming up in a couple of weeks at the end of the month that basically will kind of just provide helpful information. It's not too in-depth, but we try to change it up every month. So that's it. You want to open it up for discussion. If anybody has any questions, comments, I know we've kept y'all about an hour and a half, so it's been a long, great Juneteenth weekend, and we don't want to keep y'all all night. But if anybody has any comments or questions, please let us know.
Andy, I would just like to say to the membership strengthening, well, not membership strengthening, neighborhood strengthening committee, this committee, that you all did a great job. This was some wonderful information. And as soon as the tape is available, you know, I'd like to share with a bunch of people that were not here tonight, but to share it very broadly. And maybe we can even post it on our various websites. Thank you.
Yeah, we will do that. I'll make sure that we get that video out and the membership meeting out to everybody, and we can get those to continue to spread the good word of neighborhood work.
I have one comment. One thing I want everybody to take away from this workshop tonight is that the citizens of Jackson have more power than they realize. I think a lot of times when we have these conversations, we feel like we don't have the accessibility, the knowledge, or whatever. But if you didn't get anything from tonight's meeting, is that you have so much power, and that the city is putting that power back into the citizens' hands. So if nothing else, know that you are very powerful, not just at the polls, but you're powerful in your neighborhood on how you create it. As Andy talked about public spaces, as Mr. Seymour talked about the police department, as I talked about communication and networking, all of these things are run specifically by the citizens of those neighborhoods and the citizens of Jackson. So that's the most important thing I really hope that you all take away, and, you know, let those ideas start bubbling and get with those 2 or 3 people on your street to make sure that those things start happening, and know that you're not alone in this situation. If there's nobody but one person on your street, partner with the next street over to get some support. Everybody can put their 2 cents in, and no one is greater than the next person.
All right. Do we have anyone else who'd like to make a comment?
Yes, this is Howard Sanders with Central Mississippi Health Services.
Yes,
And
sir.
this has been my second meeting that I've attended, and fantastic information, fantastic group of people. The positivity is really, really high. Just wanted to give a shout out that there's going to be a vaccine event, if I'm allowed to do that. Am I allowed to announce this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, there's a vaccine event at the United Methodist Family Life Center, which is next to the Big Apple Inn on Ferry Street on Saturday at 10 a.m. And that's going to be 10 till 12 for your booster shots and vaccines. And we invite each and every one of you all out, or we invite you all to at least spread the word. Hopefully I'll be able to, with the permission of the group, to place a flyer in the email section. Is that possible, Mr. Andy? Hello?
Andy, do you know if, so do you want to put it on the Facebook page or something, website?
Well, I'm gonna send it through the email, and if someone deems it possible, to please put that on the website with you all's permission.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can respond to the Jan. Do you get the Jan emails?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, just respond to that email and it'll go straight to us, and give us that information, and I'll add it to the website, to the Facebook page, and to our calendar.
And I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to learning more and being a better Jacksonian, and also moving the city in a positive manner.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, come on. Yes, ma'am. Come on.
Yes, and listen, I want to say the same thing. I really been appreciating the mental structure that y'all have been helping me with getting along. I'm on Louisiana Street. One of the biggest problems of dumping and abandonment is only 4 of us on the street, and I had created like my own neighborhood watch. When I would see things going wrong on the street, I would go and intervene myself, because I realized that the people on my street were older and retired. They don't have any more fight. So I decided I'd moved over here. I'm not gonna talk about it. I wanna be a part of getting it together. So I've been real adamant about it for the past 2 years. I know for a fact. And I've been so appreciative to Andy, Mr. Jim. I met them last year. Someone gave them my name and let them know that I was on my street trying to clean up and stop what was going on. And the knowledge that Miss Chloe has given me today, I've been searching for that. And I am so glad that I have not I only missed one meeting since I've met Jim and Andy. And I'm thankful. That's all I can say. And I'm moving forward. And I'm planning an event on the street also for the whole neighborhood to let them know it's not just me, it's more than me that's fighting for the area, because everybody can't afford to move and start over nowhere else. So we want to try to get it together. So I appreciate all of you all, everybody that has given me knowledge. Believe me, I'm making you.
Thank you,
And
Shane. Seriously, she's doing a great job, y'all. That neighborhood that she's in is right there west of the zoo, and it's Colonial Heights is the name of the area, and then just south of that is Country Club Place, north and south of West Capitol Street. And those neighborhoods are going to start meeting monthly at Livingston Park, starting in July. And I mean, one of the things that's happened in Jackson since COVID started is that neighborhoods stopped meeting in person, and it's been such a hard struggle to get people to get back together and meet in person. And so just if y'all are in a neighborhood where you just, meet via Zoom or just text and email each other, that's great. But try to meet in person as soon as you can and get back in the habit of doing that. It's really helpful to just have that interaction and see people eye to eye.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Epps. We appreciate you to stepping up to the plate and getting done what needs to be done in your neighborhood. So we want everybody to have that positive attitude to let's do something in your own neighborhood. Let's not wait for others to come in. We need to be the voice, and we need to be the workers that are we're showing some kind of action in our neighborhood. So let's just get busy, and thank everyone for attending on tonight. Is there anyone else that want to make a comment before we close out? Okay, well, we thank you all for participating with our second workshop that we have had tonight. We've had some great information. We've had some positive attitudes, and we want you to take this back to your neighborhood and share it with the people that you live around and encourage them to get involved, and let's help make Jackson a better place to live, okay? And if it's nothing else, we'll go ahead and say good night. Thank you all.
Good night.
Good
Everybody.
night.
All right, we enjoyed
Bye.
talking today.
Right.
Okay.